Goedenavond, dames en heren, best friend. This is not my normal way to communicate with you, and special when I communicate and speaking, I use Catalan, Spanish, French, Italian, German, and the last one, English. Then I ask you a little tolerance about my way to speak English. The music exists only when an instrument plays and a voice sings. I mean, existing alive. You can hear a recording, but still, if you listen to a recording, when the recording is finished, it reminds only our memory. For this, I think it's so important, the emotion, the beauty, because we remember only the things that have touched us, the things that they are not touching us. We forgot very quickly. In fact, the man is made of 90% of memory. The persons who has the tragedy of lost his memory, like Alzheimer or this, slowly they lost his humanity in the sense of the communication with the other persons. And at the end, they remain alone. But by a very mysterious thing, they never lost the capacity to listen to the music. I know I have some friends that have died by Alzheimer, and they, the last weeks, they don't recognize me anymore, but still they was listening my music. Also, this is because probably we start our life as a human beings with the music. When a child is born, he don't understand any language. What children listen from his mother talking is not Dutch, Spanish, English, it's the music. The child, the baby, understand the love from his mother through the way his mother is singing, transmitting with emotion the melody of the words. And for this, music is always one of the most essential language of the human beings. In fact, without the music, we will never understand a language. What makes sense of language is the accents and the phrasing of the music. Returning to the memory and the art, I think one of the phrases I would like to remember you, it's the phrase of Voltaire who says, sans les sens, il n'y a pas de mémoire, sans la mémoire, il n'y a pas d'esprit. The connection, sense and emotion is the same. We fix in our memory all the things that we found nice. They are strong and they touch us. And I think because the music, it's, as many writers, they say, it's so essential, talking directly to our hearts. I will say, with the words, we can lie. We cannot lie with music. Even the most analphabetic person with music can feel very clear if a singer or a musician don't play it with emotion. We don't need to be in a conservatory to feel this. We feel this very clear when a musician is playing just the notes and not playing with musical sense. And this is because the music, it remains a very pure language, and it's a language which covers all the humanity. We have different ways to express the music. We don't have only the music from the Occidental culture, but we have many different ways to make music in 1,000 different civilizations in the world. And this is one of the aspects that also makes music so rich and so interesting. Now, we are in a festival of early music, and we have the chance to listen these days a lot of beautiful works from different centuries, from different composers, and mostly 99% of the music that we hear these days was 60 years ago completely unknown, completely forgotten. 60 years ago, 70 for the Purcell, but for the rest, more. It means I have a citation from Aldous Huxley, you know, the very well writer. He says, how we can explain this prolonged amnesia to which Aldous Huxley refers in his essay on Gesualdo. Aldous Huxley talks about the tragic loss of memory of European musical awareness and amnesia that lasted until the end of the Second World War, even as late as in 1950. The musical repertoire before Monteverdi, buried beneath the successive layers of culture accumulated by modernism, was still waiting to be rediscovered. And how can we explain the tranchant and despairing opinions on music before Mozart and Haydn, this is my phrase, expressed by a so great writer and enlightened chronicler of the musical life of this time as Stendhal? You know, Stendhal has written in Salzburg some letters around 1809, which is then composed a book, a very, very nice book, you know very well, The Lives of Metastasio, Haydn, and Mozart. In these letters, it's precisely in the letter 13, he writes, German music is spoiled by the frequency of modulations and the richness of chords. Ancient Flemish music was a mere tissue of chords devoid of ideas. They say country's music was made like his paintings, with a great deal of hard work, a lot of patience, and nothing more. The melody of the English is too uniform, if indeed they can be said to possess any. The same goes for the Russians, and strange to say, the Spaniards. Who could have imagined that a land so favored by the sun, I don't know what is the sun in the music Russian, but the country of the Cid and those warriors, troubadours, who were to be found even in the armies of Charles V, should have produced no distinguished musicians? That means a very cultivated man in the beginning of the 19th century has forgot anything about the music before this time. Well, this is something very surprising, seeing from the perspective of today. It is especially surprising because we all recognize the music exists always, and we use the music in all these aspects in our life. But we are talking now from art music. Music, popular music, was always play and always sing in all the centuries, in all the countries, in all the societies. But our music is something special. We are not saying this, all early music, it's art music. This is one of the functions I've been confronted so many times. I have to do the program with, for example, colonial villancicos from the 17th century. I receive a manuscript with 500 pieces from a library from Mexico, from Colombia, from Bogota, from anywhere. And I have to read and study this music. And it takes sometimes a long time to be sure that I have found a piece of art. Because in the work of many composers, it's not always the sign of genius. It's not any composition from a 17th century, a great art composition. We have the example in the modern times, the beautiful relation between Mozart, Salieri, or Martini Soler. The most popular composers of the time, the Mozart, in the court of Vienna, was Martini Soler and Salieri. And Mozart was not so well for the majority. For the real good audience was, of course, recognized. But for the majority of the people, Salieri and Martini Soler was much more popular, and Mozart was an extravagant musician making special things. Now it's the contrary. And this, it happens in medicine. This is what I will call, what it's have to say, the mystery of art. Everybody knows how many notes we have to use. And one day a musician invented a melody, a motet, a piece. And this piece will be forever a moment of grace, a moment of beauty. How is this possible? This is, I think, the mystery of the creativity. Every composer has the same elements, but why one creates something that will be forever beautiful and forever expressive, and some others, with the same technician, with the same studies, they don't arrive to create something, they will be forever. And this is, I think, one of the mysteries of the creation. And the same we can put to the performing. A score, it's a composition project. And the score, they don't give you all the elements to make the music alive. For making the music alive from a score, you need the capacity to imagine this score and to create from this score something alive. That means sounds, the quality of sound, the quality of articulation, the quality of phrasing, the conception, many things, and the communication from our time with the spirit of the music of these ancient times. All this, it's not evident, but mostly of the basic elements, they are making a function of this, beside the cognition, beside the historical information, beside all the elements that we can say objective elements. One of the most important elements is the intuition. Intuition, it's something that we cannot learn. Intuition, it's part of also of our genetical capital. A friend of mine, Raymond Paniker, who died some years ago, was 85. A journalist asked him, "How old you are, Professor Paniker?" He says, "Well, I think about 2,500 years." And I think it's right, because we are not what we are now, just the result of our life. We are what we have received through a lot of generations. And sometimes it's a genius who makes beautiful houses, another writes nice poems, another makes nice paintings, another is a great doctor. And this is a combination of thousand different elements that we cannot control. It not depends of our volunty. It depends certainly of our perseverance, because the inspiration, it's only coming where we have the pencil and the hand and we are writing. We cannot wait to work waiting for the inspiration. A musician has to practice, a singer has to practice. But all this is also to saying that the same what happens with the composition, it happens with the performance. In any performance, it's happened something really mysterious. It's a sort of compenetration between the performance and the music. And then, if the performer has the capacity to project his emotions, then it's the combination, it's perfect. Music, it's always the combination of these three important elements: the score, the performance, and the audience. And this makes a circle of life. Saying this, I will ask me, if we see how beautiful is all this music, how nice are all these old compositions, what happens? Why we have to wait until so late to understand this? The change, the very important change, as you know, was 1829. 1829 was in Berlin the first performance of the Saint Matthew by Bach. This was already an old score which was 100-year old, which was very exceptional in this time to play music from so old period. And of course, this was played with a big romantic orchestra, a very big vocal ensemble, but all the people was astonished to see how beautiful and how intensive and rich a composition from so old time. And then I think here has started something new. But I return to the why we have all during these centuries forgot the music from the old composers in favor to the new composers. We have to return back to beginning of the 15th century. As you know, at the beginning of the 15th century, something very important happens. Through the translation from the Al-Andalus, from the Jewish and the Arabic writers, we recover all the literature and the history of the Greek civilization. And then the cultural persons, the painters, the writers, everybody in the beginning of the 15th century discovered that 2,000 years before was a great civilization has produced great artists, sculptors, architects, poets, writers, etc. With one exception: no music. It was not one note recovered from these old times. Then, for the people of this time, they had been inspired all the architects, the painters, the writers, they be inspired in this old civilization and create a world today we know as the Renaissance. The rebuilt from something we was inspired in an old civilization for 2,000 years. What happens with the music? Because it was not a model to imitate, the musicians continue to think in music it's a progress. Every composer brings something better, who makes then the generation before can be forgot. It's not any more interesting. We have to concentrate our interest in the new generation, and every generation brings the music in evolution. In the paintings, they have realized there's no progress. Art, it's the testimony of each time, and we cannot say the Picasso is better Velázquez, the Matisse is better Bruegel. It's every art piece has his proper life, and we cannot say that the modern paintings, the modern writers are better as the old ones. This is impossible. But music, this fantasy, this mistake was developed like this. And like this we arrive until the time of Mendelssohn. And this performance from Saint Matthew brings the things in the right position. Then we have waited 100 years more to make clear any ancient music, even if it's eternal, is marked by his time. Every musical piece needs a specific instruments, a specific performance style, according to the time of the composition. And that means specific instruments. And then we have waited until practically 1930, 1920, we started slowly with the pioneers to make music with early instruments. And then we have waited until after the Second World War to start really what we are now celebrating here in Utrecht. I think this is one of the most important revolutions in the music history, and we can talk now really from a renaissance. It's really now a renaissance of all this ancient music that was forgotten. I think we have maybe a little too much. I would like to finish with three evocations. 1492. A Sephardic family arrives in Istanbul after the brutal expulsion of his house in Spain, where they have lived 700 years. They arrive in Istanbul, difficult traveling, they are all destroyed by the situation, they are tired, sick. In the family they arrive, they are welcome, and then at the end of the journey, they sing together. And with singing, with the music, they recover the peace and the hope. Music helps this family to survive. And we can explain the same with the Irish persons. They have go away to America because they die from hunger in his country in the 19th century, and they arrive in Boston or in San Francisco, and they work hard, and then in the evening go to the pub, and then drink a beer and make music. Also the music has saved these people. All the music for these popular situations, they have saved lives. Another date, 1945, Munich. Hercules Saal, a concert with Walter Gieseking, playing the most beautiful pieces by Schumann, Schubert, and Beethoven. An audience of 700 people listening absolutely absorbed by the music. Nobody has here in the hall all the cries and the lamentations from thousands of people going from the street to the extermination camp. Utrecht 2015. We are here. This participation is this one of the most beautiful festivals in the world. But in the same moment, we are in a world which is suffering from many things. We are destroying our world. Never was so many wars. Never was so many millions of refugees dying every day. Never was so many innocent children suffering from wars, from conflicts. And never was so much money invested in arms fabrication. We are like living in a Titanic. We are making our life, trying to have a good life, but maybe we are not conscious enough that if we don't have a reaction, this Titanic will, in 50, 100 years, will be not floating anymore. I think with this, it shows you the different ways of the power of music. For the Sephardic family, music saves lives. For the audience of the Hercules Solomonic, music is a protection against the problems of the world. In this concrete situation in Munich, music, it's a déshumanisation, makes the human less human, because the combination with this beautiful music makes these people less sensible to the conflicts and to the suffering of the human beings. And I think this is something to take in consideration today. I think we have to be conscious. We have today to live in a world with many different types of religions, of civilizations, of ways to be. And I believe only in art they can be necessary to change the world. I think in the words of Dostoevsky, beauty will save the world, but only if we use the beauty to be more sensitive, more generous, and more responsible. Thank you very much.